There it is. One, two, three. It's telling us that we live. So I guess we are. Welcome to the GFB Clubhouse. One more night, one more Tuesday night. We thank you for joining us. There's a little bit of a technical delay, and we know sometimes technical difficulties can set us back. But tonight we're actually here to talk about some spiritual difficulties, some personal difficulties
Mm.
that actually we needed to work through to get past so that we can be present and promising for you guys tonight. Thank you for joining our conversations. As you know, here in the GFB Clubhouse, we mention and we talk about gratitude at a depth, at a level that most people really don't apply. But we hope, midst of our conversations, not only do you find things to be grateful for, but begin to apply some of the practices and tactics that we use within the group, within your own life, so you can see radical transformation, especially in your life and in your relationships. So tonight, our topic is the impromptu occurrences that disrupt us, how gratitude during the interruptions that we have during life can carry us through them. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But what I'm going to do before we get into the conversation is ask my brothers, as I usually do, how y'all feeling? What y'all got to be grateful for?
Mm. I think we should let John lead, man.
I appreciate
he's
that.
here. He's glowing.
Yeah. I'm grateful for you brothers for the opportunity. Um, it's interesting because today is the 21st, and and today would have been my father's 60th birthday, or 62nd birthday, something around there. Um, and it's interesting that we're here and we're able to have another conversation, and just the fact that we're able to do that means everything. So I'm grateful for you guys.
That's what's up. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
We're grateful for you too.
absolutely.
Listen, the coincidence, there are no coincidences in life. Rod, how you feeling over there, man? Thank you for helping us get through the
Mm.
difficulties.
No, for sure. That's actually interesting you say that. That's what I feel called to do in life is help people get through difficulties. So um I'm feeling really grateful for that on a continuum where I have the ability to help people get through difficult situations. Um I'm feeling really grateful for um being able to kind of walk my son through some difficult moments today. He was preparing for a state championship run in Georgia. He's in 10th grade and he's one of the youngest 10th graders. And he's already like in the top 10 in the state type thing. And that's not just in 10th grade, that's the state. So
Mm.
seniors all the way down to freshmen. And he was so looking forward to today's race. But yesterday, in running a relay race, he injured himself. And he was not really able to perform at his highest level today. And he was battling back and forth on whether or not he would do it. And I had the opportunity to kind of speak
Mm.
some life into him and let him know, like you got to think long term, not just today. I know you really want to run, but is the risk worth the reward? Like you might injure yourself and not be able to run next year, type thing. So
Mm.
it's best if you just take a chill pill. And
Mm.
I still let him make the decision. He went out there and warmed up, and he did not run. Um, so I'm just grateful that he had the ability to kind of use wisdom. I'm grateful I had the ability to pour into him. And yeah, I'm just grateful to be here. So thanks for asking.
That's great.
Did I say grateful 50 times? I was trying for 50. I don't know if I
51.
got to 50.
51.
51.
Counted
Ah,
36.
Are you
Okay.
are
dang.
you are you sure? Did you count? How many did you count, Greg?
I lost count at 36. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I need a little clicker to count it.
There you go.
I'm
I can
grateful
see
for
you
how
with a
many.
click.
Yeah, right. Just
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm grateful for how many times Rob mentioned he was grateful. It just reminds me to be grateful. No,
There we
seriously,
go.
I'm grateful for my brothers, man. You mentioned, and I'm sorry for the loss,
Mm.
but you mentioned your father, and I started trying to calculate, and I realized I don't even remember. I know he passed in 2007. I never really got to know him.
Yeah.
Um, And I was trying to calculate. I know he's 10 years older than my mom, so he had to be in his 90s, but he passed in 2007 and never got to form that relationship with him. But I'm glad that I learned from his side of the family. I'm grateful for that connection I made with him in 2017 to find out that he was just a man like me that never knew love, and that on his deathbed, he got to know what that felt like. He got to see what love was with people in his corner, and he died smiling. So I'm grateful for brotherhood, because I've never truly had men, deep relationships with men, with good men, right? I had some role models to look up to, but they weren't leading me in a way that would lead to something. Like, they led me in a way that I had to unlearn a lot to become who I am today. And I'm just grateful for this brotherhood of grateful brothers that, we get together and we remind ourselves of, and we're here for a greater purpose, to remind people that perspective has the power to change everything without everything having to change. And if you just shift that perspective to gratitude, what you appreciate will appreciate. That's where the compound interest starts to come in. So they say count your blessings, but they don't talk about what that means. What does it mean to count your blessings? Well, if I'm busy counting my blessings, I don't have time to focus on what's wrong or what's missing, because I'm too busy counting all these blessings. There's a lot to be grateful for. There's finally some momentum in my business. I don't like to, it just happens to be how I assimilate data, is from the bottom up, top down, and then I go horizontal. And once I understand the full picture, then I can move within the constraint of who I am and the limitations of who I am. And I found this perfect sales process that is starting to work 100% of the time. So I'm grateful that even though I felt I was behind, even though I felt like things weren't moving the way they should have, that God showed up and showed out, as he always does, right on time. And I'll share that 3-step process if y'all want me to, but I don't want to take the whole scene here.
I think we'll get to it, but we need to hear Brad and what he's grateful for today.
Yeah, let's go, Brad.
I think I have a feeling where he's gonna go with it, but I'm gonna let him do the thing. No, don't laugh. Don't laugh. I see you.
Come on, Leo.
I was contemplating something profound that I'm actually grateful for, because there's one thing that I found, and I'm guilty of this. So some days I'll just say I'm grateful for the first thing that come to my mind. Mind you, they are things to be grateful for, but they don't have that profound gratitude resonance that we really, really feel on a daily basis. I'm striving to feel it day by day. Like, you can ask me today and say, I'm grateful I woke up, you know what I'm saying? I got food on the table, a shelter, I got clothes on my back, but these are, I'm grateful I have those, but that's not the resonating thing. So I wanted to dig there. And it brings me to a conversation I had with my mom recently. First of all, I'm grateful that she's still a butt of dirt, her and my father, and they both well and they're healthy. But she confesses to me, or she had confessed to me at one point in time, that she tends to bother or harass my father unintentionally in his old age. She's very, very cautious and protective of him, and she constantly, and I've reminded her of this, like, speaks to him with a tone of, you need to do this, you need to do that. If he wants to have something sweet to eat, like a dessert, say, oh no, you can't have this, you can't have that. And I've had to pull her aside at times and tell her, it's like, he is a man in his age who is enjoying his retirement. Do not prevent him because of your fear of losing him. And that was a difficult thing to say to my mom. But when I said it, she did not look at me with disgust, but she immediately embraced it because she knew that was the deeper meaning. And the reason why I find that important is because God has shown me how to see people through his eyes and see the fears that lie resident in their souls. And as long as we harbor fears like this, how can we ever learn to trust him? So I'm glad that in this journey, in these conversations that I'm having with my mom, not knowing how long I will have either her or my father in my life, that these conversations, I ain't gonna say last, these conversations that we're having, they're opening up new ways of thinking in her mind at such an advanced age. And we all know that the older we get, the harder it is to change our minds about anything. But what this opportunity is allowing her to do is to get tighter with the one who created us by herself. So it's leading her to have a tighter relationship with her Lord and Savior on a level, just because she sees what it's doing in my life. She's starting to understand not to fear or worry about anything as long as we have our trust in the Father up above, who's looking down upon all of us, man. And I'm thankful for such a profound group that I can express those types of things with, because I'm not going to tell everybody that type of thing, even though I'm saying it right now in this live. But I feel it is apropos because I myself have tried to restrict and do things out of fear of loss, out of fear of losing, somebody's love or somebody's attention or something like that. And we do it to such a degree that sometimes we don't even recognize when we're doing it anymore. But gratitude reverses all that, because now when I speak to her in the morning, the first thing she does when we get on the phone is she tells me what she's grateful for without me even having to ask her no more. Your father slept through the night. I was watching him. He slept. He played golf yesterday. He enjoyed himself. I was happy to see him enjoy himself. Like, I can hear her start to explain the things that she used to have restrictions over him about, saying that she's now grateful for them. And if that ain't transformation,
that's it.
Yeah,
man,
that's what I'm grateful for today.
That's powerful.
It's beautiful to see that, because it just, that to me directly correlates to the conversation you and I had, Brad, on Friday, when we talked about creating residence in a person's mind and spirit, creating residence. So what you did with the tone of gratitude created residence in your mom. Whereas now it's not gratitude, it's opportunity. She sees the opportunity laid in front of her. So yes, we use the word gratitude, but gratitude is simply the opportunity to do one more thing, or to appreciate that thing, or just to be aware of it. So, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
Beyond resonance. You said residence. Like
residence.
We've taken up space.
Correct.
We're renting a room.
Correct.
And we are in there presenting the opportunity to shift that perspective. That's so deep. Man.
People don't see it.
Because a lot of people want to resonate with someone else, but never create resonance. And for me, if what we're doing is authentically and genuinely us, then what we're going to do, and we won't know who we're doing it to, but the impact we're create is based on the resonance. It's that thing that's going to live in their mind and be so profound and so deep that is going to move them to see the opportunity. So before this conversation, we had the opportunity to have a conversation that allowed for residency to exist. Why? Because we saw and were able to identify the disruption that followed the intention of what we were here to do. So it just aligns. It's just what it is.
Speaking of that, man, I want to hop in here and maybe turn the conversation in a different angle, because I feel like people need to hear some of the things that we talk about offline sometimes. And one of the things that came up in our side conversations was, we're talking about gratitude, we're talking about things we're thankful for, and how our day was and whatnot. But we've all been through some things and faced some difficulties and whatnot, and we've pushed through. There are some people out here who may be listening who have no clue how to push through. They're faced with difficulties all around them, and they don't see a need to be grateful, because why should I be grateful when I'm going through XYZ? Just want to do a quick round robin, because I feel like we're the four of us, we're pretty centered when it comes to that, and we understand the importance of it, but everybody doesn't. So what would you say to that person who's sitting on the sidelines that just happens to get sent this link by their friend or their cousin and say, man, you need to listen to this? What would you say to that person who's like tapped in and they're listening, but they really don't understand the power of gratitude?
I gave a speech one time called Success Starts with Gratitude. And they left me 20 minutes. I told stories about how shifting perspective changed everything. And I gave multiple examples in my life. But at the end, they left 20 minutes. It was a Toastmasters speech. They left 20 minutes for Q&A. And I was like, I don't feel like we need Q&A. I feel like I've been pretty clear on what gratitude is. It's self-explanatory. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to pass this mic. I just want you to say one thing you're grateful for. By the fifth person, the entire room was in tears. That's the power of gratitude. And then at the end, someone shouted out, man, I feel like I was in church. And I was like, wow, I didn't even realize the power of what was going to happen when I planned this speech and put the slides together. And then one lady comes up after me and she's like, I'm so grateful that you shared your story about the son that you placed for adoption, because I was adopted and you let me know that, you know, it, because of people like you, I'm able to have a life, right? Because you could have made another decision. And there were so many people that gave me feedback afterwards. Like they didn't grab the mic and say something, or they didn't get the chance to, but the gratitude just kept multiplying. It's contagious. When you're in 12-step rooms, you have a gratitude meeting sometimes, and you know, you throw this bear, and whoever gets the bear gets to talk about what they're grateful for, and it never fails. By the third person, fifth person, the entire room's in tears. Gratitude has a power that we can't understand, but think about the mirror to how our Father is and how our Father operates. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. When we give, when we're grateful, our gratitude has to move us to service, or else what is it for?
Interesting.
Brad?
You asked the question, what would I say to a person in regards to why this gratitude thing is powerful? And if I could be blunt with y'all, my first question would be, are you tired yet? And I know y'all know why I asked that question. Trying to explain the simplicity of something that's going to seem complex to somebody else is never going to work unless they have a desire to find out about that complexity. I can feel bad for a person all the live long day. And I know there'll probably be some pushback on this type of idea, but I've been in too many conversations to where I have been drained of my energy trying to push the awesome concept of whatever the word is to somebody who was never ready to receive it in the first place. And what happens is, instead of me elevating or at least attempting to alleviate their current mood, I get brought down to theirs. And that is so I would ask probing questions first to find out if the person even wants, like, are they tired of being in that space? Because some people, unfortunately, desire to be miserable. And misery does love company. It's a familiar place, and we sometimes find safety in it. I know this because I was that type of person. Woe is me, man. I've been sitting in this daggone cubicle for 5-6 years. Ain't no opportunities coming or opening up for me to get any type of upward mobility. I can do this in my sleep and get paid handsomely for it, so I'm gonna just leave it like that. So if the question came, are you tired? It's like, nah, I can deal with this a little bit longer because it worked. But then the time came when I got tired of it. I was like, nah, man. Let me start reading more books. Let me start listening to more positive messages. Let me start meditating. Let me start waking up early. Let me start showing the signs that I'm ready to hear about gratitude. And then here it comes. And it falls like fresh rain on a weary and dry land, as the Bible says. So that's the first question I would ask. Are you tired yet? And I'd ask it just like that.
Wow. Look, you said something that made me think of a quote. Is typically incorrectly, giving credit towards Mark Twain, but it's somebody else who came up with it. It says, never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. And you know what you're talking about, it also reminds me of like Andre 3000 saying on a song, speeches only reaches those who already know about it, right? And that's just the truth. Like people who are familiar with the terms, familiar with the idea, familiar with the experience of what gratitude can do in their life are going to be people that are most drawn to it. So to your point, it's no point in trying to force somebody to understand it or, you know, going around the bush. However, like I said, it's the people who are on that fence. It's the people who have caught wind or somebody shared this link with them and said, hey man, I know you're going through some stuff. That person knows about the gratitude and they're giving it to their friend or their cousin or whomever, saying you need to listen to this. So that's the reason why I brought that question up. So I'll pass it over to John to get his thoughts on that question and then we can move on.
So this is it. This will sound odd, but both, first off, both of your points is phenomenal. Greg, corresponding the mirror. So each one of us, for me, is the mirror, and those that look in it receive the projection of what we reflect, right? So we're the mirror, they look, and then it is. So I used to tell people, what if each person you encounter is the face of Jesus or is the face of, you know, right? So it changes the perspective, right? Okay, great. You know, and Brad, your question and in probing, it's a gateway, right? It's like a door. You're opening the door to a conversation that can change someone's life. You know, I when I started in my learning of gratitude, I came from a dark space, and I say that in the most literal term that you can potentially muster in your mind. Okay, so for me, what I would do if someone's listening to this and they're like, you know, my family gave me this or a friend gave me this and said, you know, let me listen to this guy, let me listen to this group and find out, you know, what's this gratitude thing about. I would simply start by saying, did you lose enough yet? Did you lose enough yet? Because gratitude doesn't come from the abundant nature. That's the after, that's the catalyst, that's the result, right? The reality is it's born from the suffering, from the loss, from grievance, from all of these things that we frowned upon per se, yet and still we search for, right? You know, in layman's terms, we go to the gym to get stronger, but we're breaking down our muscles. Well, that's the point, right? You will never learn gratitude until you can understand and correlate it to loss, to something you no longer have. Because the contrast that it builds is what you have and what you've gained, right?
Yeah.
You have to lose it. Right. So, for example, we started this conversation, and when I said about gratitude, I mentioned that it would have been my father's birthday. I didn't have a good relationship with my father at all. So, in one aspect, to Greg's point, you know, he didn't have that male figure. I had it, but it was obtuse. It was coarse, right? He was abusive and aggressive, and it just, you know, he took the life out of me every time I had to interact with him. But yet and still, I miss him. And I wish I had him. And one more conversation would have helped me understand that the reality was I had so much to be grateful for, even through his abusive nature towards me. Why? My father had me when he was 17. He was a child. What did he know about raising a child? Right? And he only knew what he knew. which goes on to my last point. You don't know what you don't know. That person listening to this saying, why do I even need gratitude? It's just so that you can understand the other side of your loss. Because it exists. And it's like a breath of fresh air. When you feel that you're suffocating and you're drowning in your life and there's nothing left, gratitude is that deep breath that's going to satiate everything in your life. That's what it is, because it's an opportunity. That's what I would say.
Wow. Man.
Can I be real for a second?
Hold on. Golly.
Let it air out. Okay.
Hey, y'all fighting for these robes tonight around here. Golly. Oh my God.
Yeah, too much.
Now go ahead, Greg. Give
Sorry,
your
I get passionate about this stuff. I get passionate.
I'm sitting here listening to y'all, and I realized I didn't even say anything to the person. I just told them a story about gratitude and how it changed, but I didn't say anything to them.
No, you said a lot.
But it was good. Yeah.
And to John's point, like that mirror thing is real, because if they looked into the mirror that you cast in that moment and what you said, they're gonna see a reflection of what they're going through and what they're dealing with. So no, that's spot on. And to that point, I wanna add my own little flavor to my own question to cap this up. And I'll just be short with what you said, John, because it sparked something in me. I wasn't even gonna say nothing. You talked about gratitude being tied and associated with loss, and it being like until you lose something or until you have gone through something and you've had the ability to grieve, that's where gratitude is at its finest, so to speak, in so many words. I would add to that and say, once you experience that and you begin practicing gratitude, now you can appreciate things you have a little bit more before you lose them, right? Whether that be a job, a loved one, materials, time, limbs, right? I can go on and on and on for all of the things that we take for granted periodically. Once we begin to practice gratitude, it allows you to appreciate what you have that much more. And I'll say this, man, one of the keys to life is wanting what you have, right? So that you can have what you want.
That's good.
And I think that so many people get caught up wanting what they don't have. They can never truly appreciate what they do have. So that's what gratitude helps me to do. It helps me to reinvigorate the desire for the things that I already possess.
Yeah.
Because the desire was there at one point, but as soon as you get it, you feel like, oh, okay. How many times have you been excited to go get something or do something or whatever it is, and then as soon as you get it and you have it in your hand, it's like, oh, okay. Where's that excitement at? You lose it because you've now attained the thing. Gratitude is that moment a year later when you go, man, I'm so thankful. Oh my God, I got that TV. I look at it, I can still use it or whatever it is. And it's not about materials, but the point is, when you take a moment to like breathe in what you've accomplished, who you have around you, what you've experienced, good, bad, and different, up, down, left, and right, it all made you who you are. So be grateful for having that opportunity.
Man. I watched a video earlier that reminded that our brains are not built for satiety, for being satiated. They're built for the chase. And so as soon as we get something, 2 weeks later, it becomes the new normal. And now we don't even realize it. So that's why gratitude is a practice. We have to consciously remind ourselves that we didn't always have what we have now. We weren't always who we are now, because everything becomes a new normal. And then it's about the chase, because we're built for growth and contribution. But how do you tie growth and contribution with gratitude? Like, the chase keeps us chasing, which you said, if I'm not grateful for what I have, and if I don't love what I have, I can't have more of what I love. If I can't even like take a moment to slow time down and appreciate what I already have, will I ever appreciate anything I get?
That's good.
Brad, you mighty quiet over there. What you thinking about? Brad, see, Leonardo be in deep thought mode with his samurai ready to go lead the team. And
If you hit the sword, you gotta be careful how you swing it at all times, man, especially if it's sharp. So what I say is, before I always take that pause to figure out how I'm going to articulate something. But one method that I want to talk about in regards to how you can apply what Gregory just said in regards to learning how to apply the practice of gratitude. It was mentioned before. It's actually what Gregory said in the beginning in regards to perspective shift. It's something that is not visible, but once it's changed, everything changes. And the only clear way that I've been able to do that is to look at experiences. And I'm telling you, this works with stuff that I wouldn't even think about exposing or being vulnerable about because I was so embarrassed by them. Like it gets down to that level. And what I mean by that is any experience or any mistake or anything that I might be worried about where gratitude is just not in my main peripheral, it's not like main in my focus. Whatever that thing is, it's only in my life to make my experience that much more richer. Because like John said, you can only really have it once you have loss. So count it all joy. Count the loss. Count the misoccurrences. Count the bad moments. Count all of that for joy, because without that, you're never going to have any authenticity behind your gratitude. And it far be it from any man on this stream to want to appear or even go out and speak to somebody and be fake about anything. You want it all to come from authenticity. And I think that was probably one of my biggest barriers in really accepting. It's like, I'm grateful for this, that, and the third, but how do I really know when it resonates? I can look at the loss. I can look at the failure. I can look at the position. Maybe it's a position in life where I'm not where I think I should be. Maybe I should be further along. Bam! Now I got an opportunity to change things around. Why? Because my story is compelling. My testimony is compelling. When I want to tell somebody and encourage them, what I want to encourage them to do, to like me more? No, I'm not that important. I don't view myself as. I'm just a vessel. Because of my belief system and who I am, I'm always trying to point somebody to the one who's bringing me through the rough times and who I'm grateful to about everything.
Yeah.
And when people argue with me about that, whether you're a believer or not, I was like, if you don't feel the need to be grateful for him, then go ahead and stop your heart from beating right now and then pick it back up about 5 minutes later. Or hold your breath for an hour and I'll be back. And if you're still here standing, then dude, you self-sustaining. We living in a world. Yeah, we living in a world where we got air all around us in abundance. And does any of us play a part in making sure that was here, that we could breathe? So when I think about the things that are in my life that I've been blessed with, and then the difficulties and the times when I thought I wasn't going to have it or I was going to lose it, it brings about that authenticity. And that helps me practice. Because I look at it, I was like, yeah, man, I tell you the truth. I'm just meeting you. Like I'm speaking to somebody else. It's like I find out what their problem is, what they're dealing with. If there's resonance between something I've experienced and what they're experiencing, now I can minister and speak life to that person because we share an experience. And then now I got something else to be grateful for. That I found somebody else that I can help or speak life to. So that's kind of how it snowballs. But to make it plain, I hope I didn't lose anybody with that. It's starting off by looking at the mishaps, the bad moments, the things that you wish did not happen, as those are the very things that you need for a richer, more explosive, more grateful life.
Yeah.
Because if everything was just cool all the time, you know what I'm saying? Fresh wind blowing, you know what I'm saying? I go to sleep. That's boring. Hold on. I can't remember who I was talking to you. I hope it was you, John. John, tell if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I was playing this game, man, this video game. I do that to unwind sometimes. And I went to a PvP match. It's us, my team versus the other team, all real players. And we was wiping the floor with Bama's like all night long. But then the other team got stacked out of nowhere. And we had a dog fight on our hands. And I'm telling you, that one dog fight match that we had where my squad won 200 points to 198, I was like, yo, that right there, I was about to cut there. I was like, I can go to sleep now. That's what I wanted. I wanted that hardship. I wanted that struggle, that perseverance. Brothers on the mic communicating like, yo, he's over here. Y'all got to get over here. And like, that right there. Oof, don't let me beat that. Because when we was wiping people out, I was on the phone. I wasn't even paying attention.
This sounds like Call of Duty. Let me find out you play Call of Duty.
It's a Call of Duty light game. It wasn't Call of Duty exactly, but
Okay.
it was a shooter. It was a shooter. So yeah.
Okay.
My
That's
point is,
interesting.
we like the struggle, man. The struggle helps, man.
The struggle is essential. And on the way to this call, I was listening to a podcast that talked about you know, the Joker scene where he tells Batman basically like, you need me.
Yeah.
And that, like, there is no Batman without Joker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, can you imagine that? Who he's fighting? Petty criminals?
Right.
Hey, I saw you pickpocket her. No, he needs Joker. He needs a nemesis. He needs a yin and a yang. That is just what life is made of. And it's the same reason why when astronauts take off, right, and they get back to Earth, what do some of them do when they get out of their aircraft or a spaceship or what? They kiss the ground. Were they kissing the ground before they took off? No. But when you leave and lose this thing that you cherish so much, it gives you the affordability to go, man, I really need that. You know, I miss that. So to your point, Brad, all bad things are not bad, right? There's something that you can gain from that thing. And I'll end by saying this. I heard Myron Golden say this today too. I've heard him talk about losing his child before, but I didn't hear him talk in this perspective. He, number one, the person that was interviewing him asked about it. Every response he gave was positive. And I'm just sitting there like,
yeah,
I don't care how many years removed from it I am. I don't know that I can do that. But he was filtering it through gratitude. Everything out of his mouth was like, you know, I'm so grateful for that happening and showing me the kind of love that God has for me. And the man was like, what? And in a nutshell, he said, well, I have my son and I watched him take his last breath, and I would have given anything in that moment, even traded places with him to save him. And he said, God had a son too, and he gave him away, and he could have done something to save him in that moment, and he didn't.
And he did it.
He said, that's the type of love that I cannot explain. He said, I'm so grateful for it. And I'm just sitting there like, this man that took losing a child to a moment of gratitude. Like, how do you do that? You know? So anyway, I just want to say, man, like, if you've gone through something, we've all gone through something. You're human now, right? That's just part of this journey. But find something to be grateful for out of that journey. That's my only thing.
Yeah, 1000%. I saw that interview as well, and it hit home for me. So I'll tell you guys a quick story before we pivot. In the mid 2000s, I want to say, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I had a client that lived in a town called Parkland down here in Florida. Okay. In Parkland, there's a school called Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, MSD. Okay. And in Valentine, there was a shooter that came into that school and shot a whole bunch of kids. Okay. One of the kids that was unfortunately that had died, that was killed, his dad, first off, I knew the kid, and his dad was one of my clients. A few weeks before that happened, I was in their house working, doing, home renovation stuff, kind of like what I do in my business. And, it was impactful, to say the least, right? To know that it hit so close to home, right? This is a high school that I drove by all the time. I knew the kid. I know his dad. And long story short, what has spawned from that is this man, and his name is Max Shatner. He's gone as far as getting certain legislation passed regarding gun violence, right? Why does it matter, and how does this tie into gratitude? Prior to that unfortunate loss, he wasn't focused on that. And it hurts, because it's like, man, he had to lose his son for him to go and fight. But imagine the amount of kids that he has saved because of the legislation that was passed due to this effort now, right? So while it's so sad and it's unfortunate, even he will tell you how proud he is of what he's been able to accomplish, with the support, which is, at the end of the day, what all four of us are talking about is you're supported by the love of God through any trial and tribulation that you're going to face. And at the end, you're when you become aware of it, gratitude is like, it's equivalent to love, is equivalent to opportunity. It's like, it's all encompassing, right? It's all encompassing. So yeah.
It's good stuff.
I can't imagine.
It makes me think, I have 5 kids. We're a blended family, but before I met Tiffany, my current wife, you made me think with what he did as a form of gratitude for his loss. I have not turned the loss of my son that we placed for adoption into anything, I don't think, or at least I don't see it. Like, I would always compare it, if God gave his son and his son was gone, that's a different thing. Like, he gave him for us and he's gone, right? Like, he's not here anymore. If it almost would have been easier to lose the child than to know he exists with another family. And so, like, every time I think I'm healed, every time I have to talk about it, it brings this world of emotions I don't know how to process, because I did not want that. And the paperwork for it is so brutal, but it changed me as a man, because I was a womanizer, just sleeping around and doing damage. Bob Marley said the greatest, I think it was the greatest evil a man can do is to awaken the love of a woman with no intention of loving her back. And that's what I was doing over and over again. And that opened my eyes, but nothing stopped me, not even having a daughter, from doing it, because that's what I was trained by the men in my life, right? That was being a man, was chasing women. And that one woke me up. That was when the whole thing stopped, when I realized that this can do damage. And it's one thing to do the damage to someone else, but when you actually finally feel what it feels like to face those consequences of your actions, and it results in, yes, it's a great thing for that family to have that child. But that is, it wasn't just me. My kids felt it. My family felt it. My current wife she was saying if she was there, she would have fought for him. I'm like, I wanted to fight. And there's times in your life where you have to make a decision, and there's no wrong choice. I can make an argument for why I should give him to this family, because they've been through this 8 times and people change their minds on him. And I can make an argument for why I can keep him, and neither one is wrong. So I had to make a decision and be at peace with it. And the decision I finally came to was the right one for him, so I don't bring him through the same drama. Because John, you mentioned your dad was 17 and you forgave him for that. I remember when my son turned 17 or 18 and he was like, Dad, I finally get it. By this time, no, he was 19. By this time in your life, you had 2 kids and you were working. And if I can barely take care of myself, I don't know how you did it. And I'm like, I don't either. I really don't. We made it, right? It was rough, but if I can give anything, this gift of contrast that gratitude gives us, like, I have to learn through contrast. Unfortunately, I'm the kind of person that has to bump their head. And if I bump my head enough and experience the depth of the darkness that comes with my selfish and self-centered nature, because let's be real, we are all selfish and self-centered by nature. It's almost necessary for you to truly appreciate gratitude, kind of like the rain and the night is necessary for you to experience the day and the sunshine, right? Like, we don't know enough to truly know whether something's good or bad. So I don't know if what I did was good or bad, but I know it led to some really good things. Because the moment I placed that child in that family's arms, it's like a cloud of blessings just came over me. And that's when God kisses started in my life. I just started noticing unmerited, undeserved favor in my life. And I can't even explain it. Like, there was a lady I was talking to that I just met on LinkedIn. And she had mentioned that I needed to take God out of my messaging. And I couldn't say anything in that moment because I was like, I don't want to offend her. But if I take God out of my story and out of my messaging, there's going to be a lot of gaps, because a lot of this stuff does not make sense if you do not believe in God. For me, at least, my life will not make sense. There will be too many holes, too many gaps. And so for the person that's seeing this, that feels like, when is this going to end? Why am I going through all this? There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I know that sounds corny as hell.
It's real though.
It will all make sense in reverse. And that's what will ignite the gratitude. Because, I mean, what else, right? Like, it's got to be for something. If everything I went through was to help one person, then it was all worth it.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. First of all, thank you for sharing it, and I'm grateful for that. Right. But you said something interesting. You said we're not really smart enough to know if something is good or bad, to, in so many words. And it immediately made me think of a story in the Bible. It's in Genesis, I think it's chapter 38. Needless to say, there's this lady who's married to a guy. I think her name was Tamar, and he passed. And in that time frame, the tradition is you marry the brother of that person so that you can have kids if you don't have any, or whatever the case may be, which she did, right? And right before she married him, or right after she married him, he passed. And so she was stuck, like, not able to, like, fulfill her womanly duties and have a kid. So she went to the dad of the two boys who passed and said, hey, I need you to marry me so I can have this child. And he's like, no, like, I'm not doing that, whatever, for whatever reason. I'm paraphrasing. So you Bible scholars don't come for me. Okay. It's off the top. So she decides, you know what? I want to fulfill my womanly duties, and I need to do it with this family so we can continue this lineage. I'm going to disguise myself as a prostitute and go where I know this father goes and get him to sleep with me so that I can have this baby. And she does this, and I think he, like, left his cane or something like that. And then when she showed up pregnant all of those months later, they was ready to stone her because she wasn't married and all this other stuff. And she's like, no, like, I was with my father-in-law, whatever. And he was like, no, I didn't do that. You lying. And she was like, proved it by showing his little quilt and his cane or whatever. Here's my point to you. The son that she ended up having was one of Jesus's great granddads. She was a part of the lineage of Jesus's birth. Now, how could she have done that if she didn't disguise herself as a prostitute? And how could he have slept with her if he was doing everything right? You know what I'm saying? This man decided to sleep with a prostitute, and it became, even though she wasn't a prostitute, it became a part of Jesus's legacy, his lineage. So to your point, Greg, we never know, man. In reverse, in hindsight, it's always going to make sense. But we get caught up in foresight, and we don't see the end of the road. And so we get disgruntled and frustrated by the things that are happening to us in the present. But that's why they call it the present, because it's a gift. So don't overlook things that are happening to you based off of what you see. That's why we have to walk by faith. Yeah.
That's so powerful. And if you think about Jesus's entire lineage, it is a lot of stories like that.
Yeah. From the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, Brad and John, y'all been quiet.
They just absorb it. They are anticipating and absorbing what you're saying, Greg. You've been out here dropping it. You know what I mean? Got them
1,000%.
speeches.
1,000%.
All right. Brad, what we talking about next week, man? Because I think this is a weekly thing we need to absolutely keep going. I know Greg was talking about a few things. What's the topic for next week?
We were going to delve into the Black Mirror episodes, as I'm sure we need to look into again, because the theme for next week would be relevant to one of the episodes. Which one specifically eludes me right now, Greg? Do you recall?
The episode is called Nosedive, and in Nosedive, society runs on a 1 to 5 star rating system where every interaction affects your status.
Yeah,
opportunities, housing, travel, relationships. So people are constantly performing to maintain high ratings, becoming less authentic and more anxious as their social value becomes tied to public approval, which is exactly what we do when we chase virality, likes, comments, right? We're doing this now. So the question was, are we already living in a rating system?
Wow. Be interesting.
You want that, and like China right now, aren't they have something like that going down, like a rating system in China right now?
Yeah,
with the CCTV footage.
Yeah.
And
people, because I saw a news, social rating. Like some people are not allowed to stay out past a certain time limit on like weekend nights I think they were at like some mall or some metroplex when I saw the news article or the portion on it where they had people's faces. So like people would be recognizable, like this person has this rating. They had like their full profile pic and it was put in a public place. I was like, oh boy.
That always makes me wonder, are we imitating, is art imitating life or is life imitating art?
Oh, they're foreshadowing.
Because we come up with a lot of cool stuff in movies and film and all of that, books, and then before you know it, it's like reality.
It's happening, yeah. They do that on purpose.
Or is it a foreshadow?
No. It's one of those rabbit hole conversations. It's something called revelation of the method. You can never push something on the public through full deception. You have to disclose it in some way, shape, or form, and it's up to them to believe it or not the way you disclose it. So people put a lot of the agendas that we have today, both politically, economically, and on a worldwide level, into movies and into shows and into fiction, so that when the population see it, they say, "Oh, it's just a movie." iRobot. If you don't believe me, look at iRobot, and then go look at the Chinese robots that's doing kung fu right now. Look just like
Minority Report.
Minority Report, exactly.
There's a whole bunch of movies like that. Yep, absolutely.
They knew what was coming.
Yeah. This has been long going. Even in cartoons, Inspector Gadget was one of the first places where they had a watch where you can talk through.
That's right.
Yeah. I need to go back and watch that, man.
That's right.
We didn't have Inspector Gadget on our list.
Well, hold on. I thought it was Dick Tracy.
No.
That was around the same time, but Dick Tracy was a live action. It wasn't.
Okay.
And it was a comic first, and then they had the movie.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. But no, for sure, Dick Tracy is a good one. I think Dick Tracy is from the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple like the Jetsons where they have FaceTime.
Come on now.
Yeah.
They had the robot maids. They had everything. Come on now.
I'm just waiting for these flying cars, guys.
It's never gonna happen. They got them. They're not gonna put it out though.
There's two. I think there's too many. One is not consumer. Not everyday people can afford them right now. Right, it's not affordable for consumers, and I think there's too many liabilities behind.
That part.
The flying cars. So
yeah.
But they have them. They have them already.
Unless they're automated and on there's a a flow of traffic that's controlled. Like until they can control it completely or regulate it in some way, it won't be a thing. But if you notice, like in the Jetsons, there was different levels of like where you can travel.
Well, I don't know if you guys are aware, but in construction, you have what's called sky rights or air rights, right? So depending on where you're building or constructing, you can go but so high up, right? So that's the question. Where in that space can this live, right? Because you have commercial airlines, you have military stuff. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff. So, all right.
Things that we learned here at the GFB Clubhouse, man.
So I want to drop a question to prep people for next week. With that discussion, are we already living in that rating system? If your likability determined your opportunities, would you still be yourself, or would you perform a version of yourself?
We're already living in it. It's not our generation, though. It's this up and coming generation.
You said, would you like yourself, or would you what?
I don't know, Rod. I think there's a lot of our generations that are in that too.
No, for
I
sure.
was gonna say they're making money from it.
No, for sure. But what I'm getting at is this next generation is going to be a little bit more of an onslaught. Like it's gonna be heavier because this is all they know.
Yeah.
We know how to play outside with sticks. They don't know none of that. You understand what I'm saying? We grew up watching cartoons on Saturday. They grew up watching Instagram on Saturday. You understand what I'm saying? So it's different for them. That's all I'm saying. By the time they become adults, the question is, are they going to have the mindset to go, all right, I'm more than these likes. I'm more than this validation online.
Yeah. I think the systematic programming that's being like put in place right now is crazy. It's crazy, the programming. So, but yeah.
We're going to talk about all of that. That's why we got to do this.
Next week, man.
So I dropped that in the chat from the YouTube. If your likability determined your opportunities, would you still be yourself, or would you perform a version of yourself? And I mean, we see it now. Like Instagram will send you a message, or Facebook, hey, you're because you're posting high quality content, we've decided to up your distribution. What's high quality content? Right. So now you're on this, or they give you one taste of virality. It's like, oh, you got 60,000 views on this one. Keep it up. Keep making stuff to keep people on this platform. And so you're dancing monkey, right?
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Pretty much.
Well, guys, I have to jump. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you guys. Looking forward to next week. Okay.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you being in here.
Dropping, man. But we'll cut it short right there. I mean, we will see you people. We will see you all next week. Excuse me. But we thank you for joining us tonight for the GFB Clubhouse. The question has been left. Research it for yourself, and we expect to hear good feedback or your answer in regards to next week's conversation, and we're going to talk about it then. And make sure to watch that episode. What's the episode again, Greg? For Black Radio?
Nosedive.
Nosedive on Black.
Who are you calling you people?
Tip said, good show tonight, guys. Can't wait till next week.
All right, fellas. Appreciate you.
All right, now.
Peace.
Peace.